welcome to another Sonic Lab. Those ambient noodlings were the sound of the DreadBox Erebus. A DreadBox Erebus, what is that? Well, it's actually a Greek synthesizer. I can't think of any other synthesizer made in Greece. Maybe you can give me some clues into the comments, but I really racked my brains and I couldn't think of it. What is the DreadBox? Well, it's very similar to a kind of Dope for Dark Energy style desktop box. It's a 2-oscillator synthesizer with nice filter, a little bit of patch bay, but it's also got a digital delay. Well, so I think it's a bucket brigade delay built in. And what's cool about that is it actually allows you to modulate the delay time, so you can get some really interesting things. In fact, in that patch, I was modulating the delay time with a square wave to try and keep the pitches so it was going half double, or some interval thereof, and with a lot of feedback. So you can create some really interesting things. The other thing that's quite cool about it is it's actually, you can play it paraphonically with 2 voices. So this is the unit, 2 oscillators, very simple. Oscillator 1 is a sawtooth and square wave, you can modulate the pulse width. And oscillator 2 is a triangle and sawtooth. Separate glide, plus you've got a wider range, or this goes 8, 16, 32 feet. Oscillator 2 goes 4, 8, 16, so you get quite a wide range. And there's also a blend knob in between for the mix. If you switch one of the oscillators off, you just hear that when the blend knob becomes basically redundant. Really nice and simple. That all ends up going through a 12 dB VC resonating filter. This is a 2-pole filter, although it actually doesn't sound like a 2-pole filter. It sounds actually quite beefy with full resonance. Additionally, we've got an attack release VCA envelope and a full ADSR filter envelope, which we can switch. There's also this little switch here, which switches between unison, where both voices are played from the incoming MIDI note, to paraphonic mode, where it plays not duophonic, but paraphonically. And that works in last note priority. So if I play a single note, then add another one, then play the low one, it's whatever the last note triggers the next voice. So let's just take a listen to an individual oscillator. This is square wave. And the tuning between feels like a third. It's not quite a fifth, which is a bit of a shame. It'd be nice if it went up to a fifth, but it doesn't. Let's listen to the triangle wave. So quite nice and buzzy, and quite a lot of weight to it. It does have a bit of charisma. I know I'm fond of saying that. We can modulate the pulse width of the square wave, but that's via the patch bay. So now let's listen to oscillator 2. This is in triangle wave. Nice bit of weight on that. Triangle mode. Same thing. The other thing that's quite cool about this is we can have separate glide for each oscillator. So if I was to I can actually create independent glide for each oscillator, so that creates a really nice kind of just an extra bit of movement independent of one another. So next up, let's take a listen to the filter. Just going to go for the straight sawtooth wave. This is a 2-pole 12 dB VC resonant filter, pre-driven. I'm not quite sure what that means, but it does sound quite buzzy, but it sounds actually more like a 4-pole to me. It's got a nice bit of smudge, bring some resonance up, play 50%. Three quarters. take it up into the high. Full resonance. Get those lovely sing-song harmonics. Try that on a square. Very nice and smooth. I do like the sound of that filter. Like I say, the thing about a two-pole is it just sounds a little bit different to your average filter. And this all adds to the way that this instrument just kind of captures you. It's got, as I like to say, with some synthesizers have a little bit more charisma than others, and this has definitely got some charisma. So if I turn the filter off, the oscillator off, I can play the filter in self-oscillation, but it does require me to do a bit of patching. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the CV output from the output section over here and plug that into the VCF input. So now I can play the filter as well. So just coming back, we've also got this attack release envelope here. So and we've also got a full ADSR envelope, which is pre-wired to the filter. So if I just get that into, let's just get this set. Bring the other. Can add a lot more. You can hear there's that sort of woof. It's not perhaps as snappy as some envelopes, but I do like the sound of it. It's perfectly usable. The other thing is we can patch this envelope via the patch bay with a separate depth. So I could now patch this into the pitch of, I say, oscillator 2. And what it's got is this little dial here that allows us to dial in a little bit of depth. So we can separately send a different amount of depth from this than we can from the actual filter envelope. So we could then so all of these little things kind of add up to kind of, oh, actually it is possible to do this or to do that. So the other major building block is the envelope, is the LFO. Now this LFO, we can patch this. So what I'll do is I'll just patch the LFO output to the VCF. So we can just have a quick listen to how deep that is. So now I'm going to take the envelope down. Now I dial the depth in. I'm in square wave. See how far it goes. Or it's triangle mode. Now it doesn't go right up into the audio rates. I'd like to see it go a little bit further up, but you can't have everything. The next major section is the delay, because this allows us to do quite a lot of creative stuff. It's a bucket brigade delay, I believe. It's quite lo-fi, but that sort of adds to the charm. So if I bring the mix up, get quite a lot of feedback. And do all that kind of crazy stuff. But the thing that's really cool about this is we can modulate the delay time, which I haven't seen on, well, many things apart from dedicated effects. So let's just now patch up the LFO into the echo, bring the mix up. So you can see what I'm going to do here is if I bring the feedback up, or I can have just a little bit in. So I can create, I mean that's a little bit extreme, but I can create these nice sort of bendy effects, kind of like the way that you could do with tape echo. But I can also, as I did at the beginning, I can switch it into square wave mode. Create kind of pitch bend. It allows me to add an extra bit of pitch modulation. Obviously when you get longer delays it is a bit sort of noisy and crusty, but I quite like that. It sort of adds to the charm. If we again look at the patch bay at the top here, we've also got the possibility to introduce the mod wheel via MIDI, via its own dedicated depth, into one of these other inputs. So we could have it, let's put this into, I don't know, pulse width, just to make it interesting. So we'll go into a square wave. And now if I press my mod wheel, make it full depth, let's maybe bring it down. Take the delay off. So that allows me to modulate the pulse width via other sources, and the mod can be patched into oscillator 1, oscillator 2, VCF, control voltage, echo time, gate, LFO speed, which is another interesting thing. So if I take the LFO into the VCF, and now press my mod wheel, I can add another modulation source into there. Now obviously, you know, this is just patching internally to itself. We can just as easily bring in mod sources or take this to modulate other sources in a modular set. So this actually gives you an awful lot of additional potential to basically patch into additional modular gear, or if you just want to get started, this is actually a really cool little starting point for any modular setup, or if you're just getting into analog synths. That phone you might have heard in the background just stopped filming there for a minute while it rang. That was the neighbours. They were complaining that what they said, I don't know what it is you're testing, but it's got a lot of bass that's quite distressing for us. And this is not something that happens very often in this studio, so I guess that's a good thing, because that means this thing kicks out a lot of bass. This little synth actually has an awful lot to offer. The fact that it's got some intelligent patching, I like things like the individual glide, the fact that we've got this delay allows me to do all sorts of creative things. The routing of the LFO and the additional MIDI sources, really great stuff. If you wanted to hook it up with your modular gear, it's going to be no problem at all. It works on the Volt Octave Eurus rack system, so it will integrate nicely. But if you're just starting out and you've got a MIDI keyboard and you fancy a bit of analog action, this is a great place to start. I think it's about €345. You should be able to get it from most reputable analog dealers worldwide, I hope. I think we saw it in at NAMM at the beginning of the year, so I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get it over there in the States. And as maybe a starting point, or just something that's got a little bit of extra something, it's definitely got that little magic fairy dust. I really like this synth, and like I say, I've had to be quite disciplined in the review not to head off into kind of tangential jamming sessions, because even though the settings appear to be quite simple, you can achieve an awful lot with it. So you can create a very wide palette of sounds, and it's got plenty of bottom end.